continue. Kadosh Boker Or Masechet Ketubot Daf Zayin Amud Aleph 87a1. However, though, we're just going to start again, right? So we get back into it in the Mishnah Pevav Amud Bet. We're going to do it very, very quickly. The Mishnah says if a person comes and he writes Nedru Shvara in the Alaych. So a person comes and he writes to his wife, and he writes it down on a piece of paper that he's not going to ever make her to do a Nedru Shvua. Right? So he can't make her make a shvua afterwards. I mean, even though she was in charge of his properties or whatever it is, he can't make her make a shvua. But he could make her inheritors or anybody that comes from her koach to make a shvua. But if he wrote down that he's not going to make a shvua, not for her or in her inheritors or anybody that comes from her property or from her behalf, and so you can't make her swear, lo he, not her herself, lo yoshia, not her inheritors, lo ba'im mirushuta, not anybody comes from her, but his inheritors can make her swear, her inheritors swear, or the people who come from her should swear, because again, his inheritors never made that shivua. Next, what happens if a person comes and he says he's not going to make her make a neder, not him, not his inheritors, or anybody that comes from his property, from his possession, alayich, not on her inheritors, and not that somebody comes from her possessions. So then nobody can make anybody swear. Okay? Next halacha. Imagine she went directly from the kever of her husband, meaning the husband passed away, and immediately she went from the kever of her husband to her father's house, or she went to her father-in-law's house, but she was not an apotropos on the properties of the husband. Remember, apotropos is basically somebody that's in charge, like a ministering, somebody that's in charge of the state. They cannot make her swear. Why? She went directly to her father's house, or she went there, but she wasn't a apotropos. But if she was made an apotropos, they could come and make her swear even on the future, on that which she did after the death of the husband, and not on something which already passed. Says the Gemara, this is where we're starting today. We already started this, but we're just going to do it again. Shivua mayavita, right? The Mishnah is talking about the husband comes and he's exempting his wife, right? What exactly are we talking about? Yeah, what exactly are we talking about over here? So Amar Rav Yudah Marav says Rav Yudah Marav says the name Rav. This is Pei Zayin Amud Aleph 87a1. The kavanah is a shavua that the woman, she became a apotropos in the life of the husband, which means that she was, let's say, for example, the storekeeper, right, or things like that. So therefore, he's exempting her now in writing from making a shavua. Okay, so he comes and he says, right, but for example, right, if she's going to come and do something with the ketubah or whatever it is, she's going to be chayav shavua because of that. She's not going to be nifsera from this shavua. Nachman Amar Rabba Baravua says of Nachman Baravua, she's also going to be ptura with this writing ala pogemet ktubata, even on the case of pogemet ktubata. So in the end of the Amud, which is in the bottom of Pei Zayin Amud Aleph, we're going to speak about pogemet ktubata lo tipara la bishvua. So there we're talking about, right, a woman that gets divorced. She's asking for a ketubah. The husband says, I already paid, right, the ketubah. Now she admits that she did accept part of the ketubah, so therefore she's pogemet ketubah. She's making a defect in her ketubah because she comes and she says, "I want to collect." So what are you talking about? I paid you. She says, "No, you only paid me half." The second that she comes and she says, "You only paid me something," she was just affected her ketubah, but beforehand her ketubah was intact. Now she just affected, but she said, "I did receive part of the money for it." So that's called a pogemet ketubata. So therefore, here she has to swear. So the machloka between them is, if a woman comes and she's pogemet ketubata, does she have to swear or not? At the end of the day, he came and he wrote down, I'm not going to make you make a neder or shuvua. But pogemet ketubata maybe is not the same thing. Pogemet ketubata is completely different than the case of that I'm not going to make you swear, because it could be that I'm not going to make you swear, meaning that I'm not going to come and start telling you, listen, swear that when you were my storekeeper in the cashier, you didn't start to putting extra money in your pocket. You understand? That's a little bit different, the two different cases. Azar Rav Mordechai, so Rav Mordechai comes, the Amra Lishmata Kameh de Ravashi, and he said this Masa Umatan in front of Ravashi, and he says like this, I understand according to the Manda Amar, the right, ala pogemet ketubata, right, that also that when he's exempting her from a shivua, it's going to exempt her even from pogemet ketubata. The maska daita, Because then she thinks, Dilma mitztarcha lizuze, maybe I'm going to need money, Shakilna miktubatai, and I'm going to take it from the ketubah. The amrale, and therefore the woman is saying to her husband, Ketov li dulo mishpatli. Write to me that you're never going to make me swear, right? In order to take also from the ketubah. So therefore, since she's actually thinking this, he comes and he says, since she's actually thinking this, so therefore she's going to ask him to be poterata from other shavuot. But according to the mandamar, which is Rabbi Yehuda, that apotropia shenasa b'chayabala, would he have known that she's going to make him into the apotropos? The amrale, that she's going to tell him, tovli dulo mishpali, right to me that you're not going. Meaning, not always does she know that she's going to become a storekeeper or a cashier. She doesn't know that always. So Amalei comes and he says, Atun ahamat nitula. You guys are teaching it on that. Anana hamatzin, we're learning it on the last part. What happens right now? She went from the kever of her husband to the father's house, or she returned to the father-in-law's house, but she wasn't a potupos. She wasn't the guardian. And they cannot make her swear. But if they did make her into a potupos, they make her swear on the future. But not on the past. Now on this, they say she'avar mayavita. What are we talking about then on the past? Right? That it's going to help the toot of the husband. The yitomin cannot make her swear. You're right. On the past that it was during the lifetime of the husband, they can't make her swear. But from the mitah to the kvura, there they could. Why? Maybe she knows where the husband had hiding money. The husband dies right before they're going to come and start collecting the Yerusha. All of a sudden she comes, she takes the money out of the hiding place, boom, she puts it in the pocket. You understand? Rav Matna comes and he says, Afilu b'mitah likvura, even between death and kvura, lo mashbinana. We're not going to make her swear. Ta'amni nardai, because they said in narda, lekarga, right, that when you're paying back the debts, right, which is on the yitomim, the limzoneh or mezonot of the woman and her children, or for the yitomim, likvura and for the kivura, mezabninam belo achrasta. We're actually going to sell the properties of the yitomim even without achraza. Why? Because since you need it so much, usually you would never do that unless you're going to start mentioning it. And you say, why? Because you want the price to go up a lot. You understand? Meaning that you're going to do achraza, so therefore people, boom, and they start bidding and they start paying more and more. Here, even without that, you just sell off the property. Why? Because for these things, they're so essential. They're things that you need right away. You can't start waiting. So because of that, right, we're not going to come and make them swear. So Amar Rabbi, Amar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Chia, says Rabbi name Rabbi Chia, Dila neder udla shavua, bueno yachol hashpia. He says, if the husband says that without a neder of shavua, he cannot make her swear. But the yoshim can make her swear. Naki neder naki shavua. But if she's going to be clean from a neder of shavua, whether it's him or the yoshim, they cannot. Why? He told her, you're going to be clean from a shavua, which means if the guy is basically just saying that you're not going to have a neder, you're not going to have a shavua, it just means I'm not going to make you, but my yoshim, they could make her make into shavua. But if he's going to say that she's clean from a neder shavua, it means that she's naki legamre, even from his yoshim, right? Clean, that she doesn't have to swear. Rav Yosef Amar, Rav Yosef says the name of Chia, the opposite, right? By neder shavua, without shavua, he cannot make them swear, but the yoshim could do it. Naki neder naki shavua, benu ben yoshim ashbinota. The opposite. Naki neder naki shavua means that he could make her make a neder shua. Not only her is yoshim, even he himself. Why? Hachi kamar naki nafshach b'shvota. Clean yourself with a shavua. Meaning he didn't tell her naki means that you're clean, that you don't need to do a shavua. The opposite. Naki b'shvota, clean yourself through a shavua, meaning make a shavua, and then you're going to clean yourself. That is the shita of Rav Yosef. Shalach Rav Zaka lemor ukva. Bizaka sent to Murukva, ben de la shavua, ben de naki shavua, doesn't matter, la shavua, the naki shavua, the la neder, naki neder, benichsai, if he wrote down in his properties, he cannot make her swear, but his yoshim could. Nichnasaya ilen, but from these properties, ben hu ben yosham, then nobody could. Meaning, if he just said from my properties, so it's from him, he cannot make her make a shavua. But the children, meaning the Yerushim, they could make her make a shavua. But it's going to be from these properties that nobody can make her make a shavua. The last, whether it is shivua, without the words, without a shivua, or naki shivua, whether it's delon or naki neder, nobody can make her swear. But what am I going to do? Did the rabbi say, Hakol lipara, right? Hakol lipara, sorry, Abba lipara, meaning say Yitomim, lo lipara ela bishvua. Yeah, what does that mean? That means if somebody's going to come and he's going to get from the properties of the Yitomim, right? What's going to happen? He comes and he says, Lo yipara ela bishvua. He's only going to ask, he has to make a shivua. Something says actually whether he said the last shvua, the nakishwa, the land, the nakina, the ben misai say len, ben hu ben shav, nobody can make her swear. So basically, it comes as some people say there was actually a braita. Okay, there was actually a braita. It wasn't just the words of Abba Shaul saying it was a braita. That is this one. That means basically like this. That means basically it doesn't matter what the language was, they cannot make her swear. But the rabbi said, but if you want to actually pay back from the Nechsei Tomim, you're right, you need a shivua. But if it's just stam, right, she does not need to swear whatsoever. Okay? Mishnah on the bottom of Pei Zayin Amud Aleph says the Mishnah, Hapogemet Ktubata. So we already explained that Hapogemet Ktubata means she actually admitted that she accepted part of the money of the ketubah, which means that's why she's pogemet the ketubah. Lo tipara ela bishua. So therefore, you don't have to pay off the rest of it unless it's going to be with a shavua. Also, the same halacha will apply that if one witness comes and says that it was already paid off, he doesn't have to pay it off without a shavua. Or she's coming to collect from the properties of Yitomim, or Nechasim Shubadim, or properties which have a lien on it, or not in front of the husband. She always needs to make a vow. What's the case of Ketubah? Imagine right now she has 1,000 zuz written on the Ketubah. The Amarla, and he says, "It kabalt you already received your Ketubah." But he omered, and she says, "No, it kabalti, I only received 100." She swears, and then she could take the other 900. If one witness comes and he says it was paid off, so what's the case? If her ketubah was 1,000 zuz, Amarla comes and he says, you received it. And she says, "Lo itkabalti, I didn't receive it at all." One of them said, one witness says that she was paid off. He doesn't have to pay it off unless she makes a shivua. What's the case of nechasim meshubadim? Lien, a property with a lien on it. If the husband comes and he sells the property to other people, and she wants to take the money of the ketubah from the people that bought it, the purchasers, yeah, it's going to be a shivua. What's the case of Nechsei Yitomim? Met, if the husband dies, and he leaves over Nechasim to the Yitomim, she wants to take money from the Yitomim. She could only take out the money with an oath, a shavua. What's the case that he's not in front of us? If he went to the Midinat Hayam and she wants to collect the money not in front of him, and Anifrat ela bishvua, she could only get it right with a shavua. Right? Rabbi Shimon says, "Kol zman she tovat ktubata." Anytime that she's asking on ktubah, Yoshim ashbinota, the Yoshim could always make her swear. If she's not asking for ketubah, Yoshim ashbinota, they do not make her swear. Now it says on Pei Zayin Amud Bet that we just said that as long as she's going to be tovat ktubata, so the Yoshim could make her swear. If she's not tovat ktubata, the Yoshim cannot make her swear. Says the Gemara on Pei Zayin Amud Bet, Gemara on 87b. Savar Rami Bar Chama lemeimar. So Rami Bar Chama comes and he thought to say, Shavua deoraita, right? A Shavua deoraita, the Kata'in Matayim zuz. We're talking about the Baal Estoen that he paid 200 zuz. The Kamodi lay, right? B'mea, and he is Modeh in 100. So therefore, what are we talking about? We're talking about that obviously the husband is saying that he paid the entire thing, which is not 200 zuz. She's coming and she's saying, no, you only paid 100 zuz. So now she's admitting to part of the claim. So if she's going to admit to part of the claim, she has to swear mina Torah to prove that it's true. So basically, what we're trying to understand is what type of shavua are we talking about here? This is shavua doraita, right? This is shavua mina Torah. If I come and I tell you you owe me $100 million, say, no, I only owe you 50, right? $50 million. So at the end of the day, that's shavua doraita. Why? You are modeh in part of my claim. The second you're modeh in part of my claim, that's it. You have to make a vow. I've got two answers on this. Whenever you swear and you don't pay. which means that usually mina Torah you would swear and then you become patur to pay. Here it's the exact opposite. She's swearing and she's taking money. It's not that the husband's swearing and doesn't have to pay. She's swearing and she's taking the money. That's number one. That's why it's going to be completely different than the Torah. It's nothing to do with the Torah. The order, furthermore, we never swear mina Torah on the kfirat shiyabud kakaot, which means here everything is going to be meshubad l'ktubat ha'isha. So therefore, this means that it's not mina Torah because you don't swear on such a thing. And Rabbi says you're right. This shavua is the Rabbanan, the para dayek, the mipra lo dayek, which means when somebody comes and he pays back, usually it's very midayek, midatek, but the mipra lo dayek. But the one which is nifra, right, which is accepting the tashlum, is not midatek. V'ramu Rabbanan shavua aleh, and therefore the rabbis came and they put a shavua on it, in order to be midatek very, very properly. So therefore, what happened is that usually when you're paying someone back, right? That's what he's saying over here. When you're paying your hold back, right? You're paying attention. I want to pay. I'm happy. I paid back my debt. The one that's receiving the money, though, doesn't pay attention too much. Okay, thank you very much. You give me back that. He doesn't pay attention. So because of that, he comes and he says the rabbis put a shavua in order that he should also be very midatek. So now the Bnei Yeshiva, they had a doubt. What's halacha now if he comes and she says, Kibalti mincha me'azuz, right? And in front of the edim, I accepted it. Now the husband says that he paid an extra part without the edim. So for one more time, there's witnesses on, let's say, half. But then he comes and he says, yeah, but I paid you another half without witnesses. What's halacha? If it's really behemet, he paid her back, so he would have paid her back also in front of witnesses. Or maybe he just had the money, he paid her, and that's it. So Tashima, we're going to try to bring a proof. All the people that swear from the Torah, they swear and they don't have to pay. But there's certain people that they do the opposite, that they swear and they take the money. Who's that? A sachid, a worker. Okay, that means when you have a worker that's asking money from the balabait, he's going to swear and he takes money. It's not that the other guy, the boss, swears and he doesn't have to pay. It's opposite. The worker swears and he takes money. Nigzal, if you were stolen from. You swear and you take money. Nechbal, if you got hit. Right now, however, though, if the other guy is chashul l'tvuah, the same thing. Al shvuah, the same thing. Which means, let's say one of the guys, he's suspected of swearing falsely. So what we spoke about yesterday, you flip it, and then it's on the other side. Okay? Chenvani al pinkasor, the chenvani on this pinkas. Or somebody that's going to be pogem the shtar without witnesses. Shelo be'edim in, only if it's without witnesses. Be'edim lo, but if it's with edim, you don't need the right. Well, you don't need a shavua. So says the Gemara, lo mi ba'e kamar. No, really, be'emet, we didn't need to say this. Lo mi ba'e be'edim. We're not talking about to do with edim. Devadai tzichat shavua, that for sure you need a shavua, but shelo be'edim, but without edim. Ema, I would say, tehavi ke meshiva v'dav tishkol. It's like you're giving back a meshiva v'dah, shavat v'dah, and then you're going to collect without a shavua. Kamashmalan comes teach you that it's not true. Right? Even in such a case, you need to swear in order to grab the debt. So now we're going to ask the following question. Hapogemet ketubata. If somebody's going to be pogemet ketubata, pachot mishave pruta, less than a shave pruta, what is the halacha? Mi amrinan, do we say, given the kadaika kule hai kushta ka'am? Or are we going to say now that it's ki'ilu for sure, she's saying the truth? Right, so then she could be govada, the rest of it without a shavua. Or maybe she's just doing harama, and she's showing ki'ilu that she's medakteket and everything, right, in order that they should believe her without a shavua. Okay, so teiku, we have a doubt. We don't know. We don't have an answer. It was maybe be'emet. We're not sure. Is she playing a game or she's really be'emet medakteket? Ibailehu, or we're asking another question now, right? Pochetet ketubata, which means she's saying that she didn't get the entire amount, but she's more that the husband is not chayav the entire amount as well. But it's less. So she admits that the husband is giving less. What's halacha? Mi amnina, do we say that it's the exact same thing like pogemet, right? And therefore she needs a shavua. Or dima pogemet, modim mitzah pogemet, she admits to part of it. But here in this case, loka modim mitzah, it's not. Everyone understood the difference between pogemet and pochetet? Pogemet is that he comes and he says, I paid you back the entire amount. She says, no, you didn't pay back that. You paid me back half, a third, whatever, a fourth. Doesn't matter what it is. Pochetet means she comes and she says, no, but you don't owe me 200. You only owe me 180. But you didn't pay me back a penny. Let's say 180,000. It wasn't 200,000, 180,000. So she's pochetet the ketubah. But she's saying, but I didn't receive a penny. So that's called pochetet ketubah.
Why would she say that?
So that's Shema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Pochetet shelo b'shvuah. So pochetet, she's going to actually, he has to pay back without a shvuah. Okay, so what's the case? What happens if the ketubah was 1,000 zuz? The Amar line, he says, you already received everything, and she says, no, you kabalti v'en ela. Right? I didn't receive the ketubah, but the ketubah was only 100 zuz. Nifrad shelo b'shvuah. She gets paid back without a shvuah. Everyone understood what happened? One more time. No. He comes and he says, what? He comes to Bedin, and he says, your ketubah was 1,000 zuz, but I paid you back everything. She says, I apologize, right? You didn't pay me a penny, right? Or you only pay me whatever it is. You understand? No, she says you didn't pay me at all, right? But it was only 100. So she takes without a shivua at all. So b'may gavia, what's she collecting? I started with the shtar. But the shtar is worthless, because if she's saying that the entire thing was mizuyaf because it wasn't 1,000 zuz, so then what's going on? So Amar Rava Bred Rava Zotomeret Amana Itali Birmi. No, you're right. There was something between us. It was like this shtar was stam, like it wasn't a real document. You understand? So therefore, it has nothing to do with it.
Kind of migul.
Yeah, it's like a migul. Exactly. Next, we said in the Mishnah, what happens if one when it says that it was paid back? So she needs, right, that it was paid. Yeah. So what happens? So she needs to make a shua in order to get paid. So Savar Rabbi Chama comes and he says, "Shivua doraita." This is shivua doraita. You can't do it for a cholavon chadat, right? Why? Because you can't do it for an onish. But it's good for a shivua. The Abba Mamor says, whenever two witnesses obligate you money, one witness obligates you a shivua. Meaning, if we had two witnesses that you are chayav money, you have to pay the money. It doesn't matter what happens, you have to pay the money. Why? Two witnesses. But now there's only one witness. So what does that one witness obligate you? A shivua. So if there's a shivua, so then what's the chidush of our Mishnah then? So Amarav says, we have two different answers on this. One of them, we already mentioned this one before. Whenever you swear, usually in the Torah, you swear and you don't pay. Here it's the opposite. She's swearing and she's taking the money. Not that the other guy is swearing and he doesn't pay. Okay, the old, and second of all, and the same answer. These two were the exact same that we mentioned before. You don't swear on kfirat shibuk kakao. El Amarava, brother Rabbi says it's Rabbanan. Kedei la'afis tato shel habal. This shavua was a shavua Rabbanan in order that the husband is calmed down. Because if not, then the husband will be very feisty. You understand? He's going to go a little bit crazy if they just give her the money like that. So Papa says, "I pikeach," right? Pechet amud aleph. I pikeach, if he's smart. You should bring her to do a shua doraita. He should always give her the ketubah, another ketubah in front of one witness. And then you go put the two witnesses together. And then it's going to become like a milve that she's obligated to him. And then she would be obligated money. And then again, she would have to make a shua doraita. Once shua doraita, obviously, it's a much stronger, right, form of a shavua. Continue with